Hi, I'm Bodhi, my pronouns are they, them, and this is my 2 years on testosterone update. I'll just go through what I consider the pros first. One of the pros is I'm stronger, and I really enjoy being stronger, so that's pretty cool. My max pull-ups to fail before testosterone was 4 in a row. My max pull-ups to fail on a low dose testosterone was 8 in a row, and now I can do about 10 pull-ups in a row. I'm not a runner. I don't really run, but I can run a little bit faster and a little bit further now. But because I don't train, it's a really minimal difference. One of the pros I wasn't expecting was I love what testosterone has done to my face shape. I really vibe with just the changes that have happened. And my face before was totally fine. Like, I'd never had any facial dysphoria. I liked my face. But I'm just really into it's filled out a bit, the jawline's a bit more angular. I don't know, it's subtle changes, right? But I'm quite enjoying what tea and also age has done to my face. Like, I actually like my wrinkles and like my smile dimples and stuff. I don't know, it feels really just homey, just nice. I'm into it. I'm actually less hungry after starting tea, and I don't eat as much, which is totally the opposite of what a lot of people reported on their testosterone journey. So maybe that's just me, or it might even just be age. Before I started tea, I used to just be hungry like all the time, and I'd eat and eat and eat, and I found it really difficult to put on weight or keep on weight. I had quite a physically active job, I still do. I work in the film and television industry, so it's like 12-hour days, carrying equipment around everywhere. I'm on my feet all the time. It's quite demanding, and I used to just be constantly eating and snacking, and after a long shoot I will have still lost weight, and I struggled, and I needed to like take breaks in between jobs to just eat enough calories to like get back to like where I was before, which is, I think, definitely a problem that the industry has and not necessarily my body. Now that I'm on tea, I eat less and I can keep the weight on more, and I'm not hungry as often. So like now I eat 3 meals a day instead of like 4 or 5 plus snacking. So, you know, totally not what a lot of people experience. Again, it might just be an age thing. It might just be, I feel like when you're older, your metabolism can like slow down a little bit. So maybe that's what's happened. But either way, I'm into that. I'm kind of going away from like my pros list into sort of like neutral / interesting, that, you know, I don't really have a feeling about it. So crying, I still cry sometimes. I would say the first 6 to 12 months on tea, I couldn't cry. Like, I just straight up could not. I don't think I cried once for like about a year, which is weird because it was like 2020, you know, mid-pandemic, lots of stuff going on, and I just couldn't cry. It was weird. But now 2 years on tea, I can cry again. I don't cry as often as I used to. I used to cry maybe 2 or 3 times a month. Not necessarily because I was sad. Sometimes I just saw like an advertisement with a happy puppy in it, or someone gave me a lovely compliment, right? It wasn't like I was just crying all the time because I was upset. So now I'm 2 years on tea. Hello, Catson. Hello, multiple cats. Hey, baby. I got a cat to be in my video. Hey, Scott, say hello to the internet. Hello, internet, I'm Scotty. I love pats when I'm on the ground, but I kind of don't like being picked up, and that's okay. I respect you. I respect you. This is a ground cat. He likes to be solidly on the ground. I can still cry now, but I tend to cry at happy things. Actually, I think the only times I've cried in the last year have been because of happy things. Like someone does something super generous or gives me a compliment, or, you know, something like that. Other neutral changes, my voice has dropped.
I just feel really chill about this decision, like really relaxed and very certain in my decision.
I liked my voice before tea, and I like my voice now. I just always like my voice. It's all good. Either way, I'm happy.
My aunt especially has been trying to talk me out of this, and the conversations with her, which like should faze me, like haven't bothered me at all. I just don't care about that, you know. This is my body and I'm doing with it what I want to do.
My BO is a little bit worse. I get a little bit more smelly. I'm putting this in the neutral column because I just have showers and it's fine. My muscles get a little bit stiffer now after I work out. I don't know if this is testosterone or just me getting older. I'm 31 now. I was 29 when I started full dose testosterone. So I find myself needing to stretch more and foam roll more and that kind of stuff after I've worked out, which is all good. I think this is neutral. I'm just like, you know, or if it's the exchange for being stronger, that's fine as well. See, I don't know if like the idea that cis men tend to be stronger and less flexible and cis women tend to be more flexible and less strong, if the flexibility is just a cultural thing because guys have this like, I don't need to stretch kind of thing, or if it's actually because if your muscles are denser then they're less stretchy. I don't know, maybe science side of YouTube, comment in the comment section below and let us know, is that a science? Did I do a science? I don't know. But either way, I need to stretch more and foam roll more, or I get kind of quite stiff, and I used to not. I might just be getting older, and that's all fine as well. And I'm going to go through the cons as well, because there have been some cons on testosterone that I think I should talk about. There's been a couple of minor ones, and then 2 major cons for me. So one of the minor downsides to T is that everyone assumes I'm a man now, which I'm calling it a minor downside, and I'm not really going to speak much more to it because people assumed I was a guy before I started hormones, so I can't blame it on T. It's like actually a social problem, if that makes sense, right? People assuming I'm a dude is not the fault of testosterone, it's the fault of people being socially conditioned to think that people that look like me are men. But I don't like being read as a man. I didn't before T, I still don't. I'm one of the few AFAB non-binary people I know who prefers to be read as a woman over being read as a man, although I prefer to be read as non-binary. If people could do that, that would be great, thank you. Yeah, most AFAB non-binary people I know, if they have to be read as male or female, prefer to be read as male, but I just don't vibe with that, I don't know. Which is a fun conversation we can perhaps have another time. So there's been 2 major cons for me being on testosterone, which I want to talk about, and I didn't see either of them coming. One of them is, I knew I'd grow some facial hair, so I've grown a little bit of hair around here, have a little bit of sideburns going on, and my moustache has been getting darker, although the hairs themselves are actually still pretty soft. They're not like that wiry kind of beard hair kind of thing, but something's happening there. I felt pretty neutral about growing facial hair when I went on T. I knew it was something that was probably going to happen. When my facial hair started coming in down here on my chin especially, I started having nightmares about growing a beard, and I realized that that's something I actually really didn't want, which surprised me because I had no idea. I'd definitely call it dysphoria. I started getting dysphoria about having facial hair, so I developed dysphoria about a thing that I didn't have dysphoria about before because I didn't have facial hair before, which makes sense, I guess, right? So that one's pretty easy to address. I just shaved for a while, and then recently I decided to start getting laser hair removal on my chin and neck area, and that's working really well for me. I know it's like a little bit of a bummer to have to, you know, think you're kind of finished your transition, whatever that means. Maybe that's a problematic mindset in and of itself, and then realizing that you still have more work to do. But the fact that it's such a minor thing, and you know, I have to go and get my chin zapped once a month for like 6 months or something, and then it's like a 5-minute appointment. You know, it's not huge, it's not particularly painful, it just kind of feels like someone snapping a rubber band on you. The people at the laser hair clinic can't quite figure me out, but like, you know, they're professional enough not to poke and prod too much in terms of questions for me. So that's been fine. I spoke to some trans women who I know, some friends I've got in the area, about what laser hair removal clinics they've been to who were trans friendly, and they gave me this recommendation, so that's where I went. The second major con of being on testosterone for me has been just overheating. Like, I knew that the first couple of years you might get hot flashes, but the whole of last summer I was just so hot every day to the point of just discomfort and headaches, and I couldn't sleep. Like, I'd be stark naked, all my windows and doors open, a fan blowing through, and I'd be lying there on top of my bed, no sheets, no blanket, nothing, and I'd just be just like sweating and just so hot, and I couldn't sleep. And this was like throughout the whole of November, December, and part of January. It was really rough, actually. I ended up moving house partly because the house I've moved to has an air conditioning unit and the other one didn't. Like, I was staying up till 2 or 3 a.m. I was just so hot I couldn't sleep. I was like hugging ice cubes, which my physio then said was actually pretty bad for me. Whoops. So that overheating thing is something that I've been trying to address now because I don't think I can do another summer. Thank goodness it's the middle of winter right now. I used to hate winter. I used to get cold all the time. But now I'm pretty grateful to have a reprieve, you know. I showed up to work on set the other day at sunrise, and I showed up in short shorts and a tank top, and everyone else was wearing long pants and big puffer jackets and beanies. And I just rocked up in like midsummer clothing, feeling really comfortable with the temperature. And I'm just like, la la la. And that's when I kind of realized that maybe this is an ongoing problem that I should speak to a doctor about before I just like boil alive for next summer. So those were the main changes that happened. I got stronger, my voice dropped. I couldn't cry for about a year, and now I cry less often and only at happy things. I got a bit more smelly, I needed to stretch more, and I grew facial hair and got facial hair dysphoria, and I have an overheating problem, which I am trying to sort out with my doctor. The first question is, what dose are you on? I have been for the past year and a half on 1 ml injections of Testosterone every 3 weeks. I have recently switched to 0.5 ml of Testosterone injections every week and a half. So it's the same amount that's going into my system, but the doses are smaller and the injections are more frequent. The intention with this was in the hopes that it would fix the overheating issue. I think it might have helped a bit, but it's been winter time, so it's hard to tell. My doctor is actually switching me to patches now, so it's going to be a daily patch. I don't know what that dosage is. It's a patch. I haven't used them yet. I'm meant to be picking them up today. She's hoping that that'll kind of stop the peaks and troughs and perhaps help with the overheating problem. I also heard the overheating issue could be unintuitively that my T levels are too low. Someone said that if your body thinks that you're in menopause constantly because of your hormone levels, it can just constantly be sending menopause signals to your body and you don't like work through that. I'm not sure about the science about that, but that's something someone told me. I just thought, oh, I'm overheating, my T levels must be too high. But they're in the cis male range, but on the lower end right now. And so it might actually be that they're a bit too low. So I don't know, we'll try the patches, we'll play around with it. Hopefully I'll suss something out by next summer, because I can't deal with another summer again, just like overheating that much. I'm going to read out the second question. If you're comfortable, I'd like to ask how you realized this was the right path for you. I'm a non-binary person who's had a weird journey with T. Low dose for half a year, I panicked and went off for another half a year, then dysphoria returned, so I started again at an even lower dose for a year, then back to my original starting dose a few months ago. I'm starting to consider going even higher than I've done before, almost to a full dose, and I'm admittedly having trouble figuring out what I want. It's been weird to have once been so afraid of the masculine traits T was giving me, and now I've been feeling like those traits are what I want and what might feel like how I'm meant to be. Whether or not my experience has been similar to yours, I would love to hear what decision-making / reevaluating process has been for you. Thank you for sharing your experience thus far. It's been so helpful to me in my own transition. Thanks for that question. So, if you've been following my channel for a while, I started it just to document my top surgery process. I got approved for top surgery in 2013 when I was 22 years old. Then it was 3 years later I got top surgery because it's expensive and hard to get, blah, blah, blah. So in 2016 I had top surgery and I wasn't on T at the time. I didn't have any plans on going on T. I've known I'm non-binary for 9 years now, and that hasn't changed. I was questioning my gender for a while. I thought I might be a trans guy. I explored that for a bit, realized that wasn't right for me, found non-binary that really fit, and it's just stuck, you know?
Because if I was offered a pill that would turn my dial 180, I'd turn it down. I would. I like being gay. I like being queer. It's a huge part of my identity. And it's one that I pride myself in.
My gender is pretty fixed. What's the opposite of gender fluid? Gender solid? Gender gas! Gender solid. My gender is quite fixed. It's quite earthy. I don't know, it doesn't really change much. It doesn't move much. My personality is like water. I'm a Pisces, and quite a stereotypical Pisces, but my gender itself is like hasn't changed much in the last 9 years. Once I realized I was non-binary, I was like, oh, that makes sense, and that's been how it's been since then. So then I went on low dose testosterone for a while, and now I'm on a full dose and have been for 2 years, and plan on being on full dose for the foreseeable future. That might change. We'll see. Part of the reason I kept my ovaries was because I knew there's a chance in the future that I decide that testosterone is no longer right for me. But it's right for me right now, and so that's what I'm doing. In 2020, I was freelancing in California, the pandemic hit, all my bookings got cancelled, and I came back to New Zealand because I wasn't a citizen of the States, I couldn't go on unemployment, I was a self-employed freelancing person. There was no support for me there, and I ran out of savings, so I had to come back to New Zealand. It was a hard decision at the time. I love California, even though the US is a capitalist hellhole. There's some incredible people in the States, and I had made some lovely friends and community, and I do really miss them and want to go back at some point. So it was a hard choice for me to come back here, but I just knew I would be just much safer and supported here in New Zealand than in Trump's America under the pandemic. I ended up back in New Zealand. I arrived here and went straight into like a 40-day lockdown. So New Zealand was one of the countries that kept COVID out the longest, partly because we're just an island nation, and so it's really easy to like seal the borders basically, and partly because the government here put in some measures that I think worked incredibly well. It was fantastic. We didn't really have COVID as a thing in the community proper until like November 2021 is really when the outbreak became uncontainable. So we really kept it out for quite a long time, and long enough that we were able to start vaccinating people before the outbreak became, like I said, uncontainable. Anyway, again, this is a video about gender, not politics. I do political videos here on this channel, but this is not one of them. Or the personal is the political. So anyway, came back to New Zealand, 40-day lockdown, and I was by myself, unfortunately. I ended up in a single room studio just by myself for 40 days. There's this kind of thought experiment that goes around trans spaces a lot, which is if someone's questioning their gender, someone might respond and say, okay, imagine that you're by yourself on a desert island and you are the last human in the world. Everyone else is dead. They don't always say that, but sometimes that's the premise, and I'm like, oh god, like, I think my gender's the least important thing on my mind right now. Everyone's dead, so have a spiritual journey within yourself. No, I have other things on my mind. Sometimes it's not everyone's dead. Sometimes it's just like, it's a hypothetical. All right, you're on a deserted island. You don't know if you're ever gonna get saved. For some miraculous reason, there's like a clinic there that has hormones and surgery and I don't know, robots do it. This is the future where robots do it. Anyway, you're on a deserted island, there's no one there, you're not socializing with anyone. You don't have any contact with the outside world. You don't have to interact with anyone, and it's likely you won't ever for the rest of your life. What do you do with your body? What is your gender? How do you express yourself? How do you live in yourself when there is zero influence from anyone else? There's no social pressure either way, anyway, to like remain identifying as a cis person or to like fully transition and identify as a binary trans person. Like there's no pressure anywhere. So you might know where I'm going with this. Okay, so the deserted island thing. And I used to respond to these comments like snarkily on other people's videos or Instagram accounts or whatever. So I'd comment on these and I'd say, well, like, it's totally unrealistic because we're humans and we're social animals and you're always gonna be interacting with at least one other person. That's just the way that humanity is structured, and that's the way that our species is. So like, you do actually have to take your social interactions into account because that's a massive part of a lot of people's lives. And so you can't just, you know, put yourself separately on this island where you just exist irrespective or unconnected to the whole of humanity. So like that's unrealistic and you shouldn't think about it that way because it's not helpful, basically was what I was saying. The irony, the full irony now in 2020, April of 2020, is this is my reality. I'm solo bubble of one, self-quarantining and have been for coming up to a month now. It hasn't even been 4 weeks and I'm feeling it, guys. I'm feeling it. This kind of theoretical, hypothesis scenario of being alone on a deserted island with no social connection. I'm kind of there a little bit. And then something that Fox Fisher said, not to me directly, was that you need to love yourself first. There was just a lot of social concerns I had with going on a full dose of tea. Social concerns and like emotional concerns. There's nothing physical. I mean, like, I don't love how hairy I'm getting, but like, fuck it, I can shave or epilate, whatever, right? Yeah, Fox said you need to love yourself first. And I think that this is just a journey I need to take. I thought when I was making decisions about myself and my body and my gender and my transition and all that, beforehand, I was pretty confident that, I was doing it for me and just me, and I didn't care what anyone else thought, and, I was doing what was right for me in my own life. And for the most part, I was right. But I did realize that because I really don't like being read as a man, and it frustrates me that people assume I'm a dude, and like socially, I feel a lot more comfortable being seen as a butch woman than as a man, although I'm neither, and I would prefer people to see me as non-binary. I realized that I had quite a few blockers about going on T, even though physically in my body I think I knew that it would be right for me, that I'd feel better. Even just the idea of thinking, oh, I'll be stronger, I dismissed that as like a really shallow reason. I think I even said in one of my earlier videos, like one of my first videos that's titled like an agender person's thoughts on testosterone or whatever, I think I expressed that I thought it was shallow to just go on T just to get stronger. But now I'm like, look, we've got one life, and if being able to do more pull-ups will bring me a lot of joy, then like, why the fuck not? And it does. I don't know, maybe it's shallow, but it's just for me. It's just me for me, right? Like, I can do 10 pull-ups in a row right now, and I'm stoked about it. I'm not one of those gym people who talks about my training all the time. I work out a lot, but I don't really talk to my friends about that much. I don't talk to my family about it. It's just a thing I do by myself. I don't have a gym buddy. I just do my own thing, and it makes me happy. And I think I thought that was like a less valid reason than other reasons to go on T. But I realized during this lockdown that like, we only have one life, and it's our body, and it's our body. This is my body, and then you have your body, so they're our bodies individually is what I mean. So this is my body, and if that's a thing I want to explore, then why not? Like, the worst thing that can happen is I decide it's not for me, and then I go off T or whatever. It has felt really great for me. Like I said earlier, there were some surprises I had. Like, I really enjoy my face shape right now, and I didn't have any dysphoria about my face shape earlier, which is why I understand during the transmedicalist / too cute debate when people say, oh, sometimes you don't have dysphoria, but you transition and then you have gender euphoria. I'm like, yeah, I had that about my face. Like, I get it. I didn't have any dysphoria about my face. And then I went on T, and now I have gender euphoria about my face, which I didn't before. Before I was just like, oh yeah, it's a face, that's fine, cool, like, I identify with it, that's all good. And now I'm like, yo, like, I love my face. Which is like a weird distinction to make, right? A weird kind of conceptual thing, but it's legit for me, right? Whereas with my chest, like, before I had chest dysphoria, I really could not stand having breasts. It didn't feel right for me. And then I had top surgery, and I don't necessarily, like, I enjoyed having a flat chest, but mostly because the dysphoria was gone. So I don't know if it necessarily gave me euphoria, although there were definitely moments like swimming in the ocean without a top for the first time was pretty awesome. But yeah, I think the amount of gender euphoria that my face shape has given me was really unexpected. Anyway, sorry, I'm trying to answer your question. So I realized that a reason I hadn't gone on T was, one, I thought the reasons I wanted to were shallow, which is BS, right? Any reason is valid, do it, you do you, whatever. I don't know, even if you think you'd be hotter on T, like, I mean, analyze, you know, is it a thing that you're being told by the media? And I did this a lot, right? Is it just because the media and people are like really harsh on butch women? Like, I thought about that a lot. And I really, really spent years mulling that over, to be honest. Which is why when TERFs kind of come at AFAB people who are transitioning and they say, you know, do you think you're just a butch woman? It's like, yo, yeah, I thought about that for years. Like, do you not think that that's the thing that I've been thinking about for ages? The amount of time and thought I put into this, you don't know. And yeah, so I was excited to be stronger. I was excited to have bigger shoulders. I was excited to, I don't know, feel like how testosterone changed me, and I could always just stop it if I wanted to, right? There's a few things that are long-term changes, but I feel like it's not that much actually. It's pretty minimal, right? You can always get laser hair removal, which I'm doing already on my chin. In terms of voice pitch, there are definitely things that you can do that I don't think people use voice as much of a gender signifier as they think they do. I've definitely met some cis women, like heavy chain smoking cis women, who have incredibly deep voices, and I've met some men who have quite high voices, and that's just the spectrum of gender. I hope that answered your question. All right, this next question here is, I'm a non-binary trans guy, for lack of a better term, who is on full dose testosterone. I've been following you for a while, even before I knew I was trans, and have found it so helpful and fascinating to watch you question, discover, and step into your identity. Well, thank you. It made it possible for me to see that I could be trans and non-binary and also transition medically to the extent that I wanted to. This was back during the height of trans medicalism on YouTube, so it was a revelation and a relief for me back then. Along the way, I've been surprised to discover that I really prefer to be read and gendered as male, even though I conceive of myself as non-binary, and I often ask myself whether I'm actually a binary trans man, or if the line between binary and non-binary trans man is yet another binary that I'm trying to fit myself into. The very difference between these two categories has slowly begun to dissolve for me. How has it been for you? Has your self-conception evolved over time as a result of being on full dose of tea? Ooh! Oh man, thank you for that question. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so you are non-binary and a trans guy, or kind of playing with those words or in that space, and have realized that you prefer to be seen or read as male. Yeah, so I haven't had that particular experience, but I think that's a reason that I was hesitant to go on T, was because I knew a lot of people would read me as male. And now I do get read pretty much universally as male when I meet new people, and I'm not into it. It doesn't dramatically upset me or ruin my day or anything. It's just always kind of weird, right? I think, that's strange. Like, what are they seeing? They're not seeing me. They're seeing some idea of me that they've just made up in their head. And I'm pretty open about being non-binary in most spaces. Sometimes at work I won't bother correcting people, probably for silly reasons, but I worry about, you know, my job and stuff and employment and those things, which is, I mean, I'm in a pretty privileged position otherwise, and I don't think that that would really be an issue, but anyway. No, like I said, if I was made to choose between being seen as a man or a woman, I prefer to be seen as a masculine woman. But I really am trying to find spaces and people who understand what non-binary is, understand that I am non-binary, and can see me and respect me in that manner. Because otherwise I feel invisible, and I don't like that feeling. It can feel quite disconnecting for me. You know, of course I can work in spaces where people see me as a man and I can do my job, and that's fine. I bring professionalism to the set that doesn't involve me correcting 50 new people's ways that they gender me every day, because it's the nature of the film industry, is you're working with different people all the time, and I just don't have the spoons or time or energy. to do that. But yeah, I definitely notice when people read me as non-binary and when people gender me as non-binary, and I appreciate that, and I feel seen, and I feel closer to them. I feel more connected to them. The way I explain it is, if someone constantly refers to me as he, him, and I've told them that my pronouns are they, them, and that I'm non-binary, and someone constantly refers to me as he, him, I just know that we're probably not going to have a friendship or any kind of deeper connection, right? We're acquaintances and that's it. Because I don't feel seen by them, they're not recognizing me and who I am, and they're not understanding who I am and how I move through the world, right? Like, if someone refers to me as he, him, I always wonder what other assumptions are they making about me, right? You know, maybe it is just pronouns and that's it, but often there are other layers and assumptions on top of that, if that makes sense. Which is not to say that I don't understand your wondering about the binary between non-binary and being a trans man, and whether that's just another binary that you're trying to push yourself into, because more so before I started Full Dose T, I was simultaneously sometimes identifying as a butch woman and as non-binary, and that didn't feel incongruent to me. I think for me now, I more come from a space of understanding that I guess it just doesn't fit me anymore. Like butch woman, it just doesn't feel like it refers to me anymore. I think because I have been a butch woman, and I can say that with certainty, right? You know, some trans people say they're AFAB and they're like, I'm a man and I've always been a man, you just didn't see it, which is like totally legit. I don't have that experience. Like, I was a little girl, and then I was a butch woman, and then I'm non-binary, right? Like, I came to understand myself as non-binary maybe 9 years ago, but it's not like, oh, I thought I was a butch woman and I was wrong. Like, no, I was a butch woman. That's just my reality. It's not everyone's, you know, never make assumptions about how trans people think of themselves, but that was my reality. And so I guess I can just say right now, I'm not a butch woman because I have been one, and I'm no longer that. But I understand that it wasn't like one day I just stopped being a butch woman, right? Like, it's not like there's this very delineated line that I stepped over and I crossed the threshold, right? I think I was well into being on T before that kind of started to become my reality, and it was a slow process. No, I think it's cool that you've discovered something about yourself and the way that you prefer to be gendered. And I think that even if you prefer to be gendered a certain way, doesn't necessarily mean that that's your capital G gender TM and it's always going to be your gender and you're locked into this label and this identity and these pronouns forever, right? Like, I like to think of things, even though I think my gender's pretty static, I think of gender conceptually as quite fluid, even if it's like glacial fluid. It's still fluid in a way that I think helps me be more comfortable with where I'm at now, right? Like, if you are currently more comfortable with being seen as a man, then cool, you know that about yourself now. That doesn't mean you have to say, oh, okay, I must be a guy, you know, and it might change later and it might not. I just think, yeah, if you know that's how you're more comfortable, then you can tell the people who matter to you in your life, and they connect accordingly. I hope that was helpful. I hope I didn't dance around the answer. Thanks for your question. The fourth question is, hi, I'm an NB who is 3 months on T next week. I have moments where I struggle with the discomfort of feeling femme. Have you experienced this? Does it go away, fade and come back? It's not a terrible thing, but perhaps unsettling. Do I struggle with the discomfort of feeling femme? No. That's my answer. I realize the more masculine I seem physically, right? Bigger my shoulders are or whatever, the deeper my voice, the more comfortable I am wearing makeup and skirts and stuff. I went to a party a few weeks ago, I'm pretty sure it was the party I got COVID at, where I wore a skirt, like a long to the floor skirt. And I felt really comfortable and happy in that, and I hung out and danced all night and didn't feel like people were gonna treat me weirdly or look at me strangely. I got quite a few compliments on my outfit, and I don't think I would have necessarily done that pre-T. I mean, I wore skirts when I was like 18, 19, 20, maybe 21, But I think that was kind of, in that particular phase of my life, it was more of a sort of hangover of feeling like I should or I had to because of my assigned sex at birth. Whereas now, where I am now in my transition journey, I'm really leaning into finding an aesthetic that seems to work for me. So I never feel discomfort about feeling femme in like the sense of my gender expression. I do have a tiny bit of dysphoria about my hips, but I don't have any trouble with my gender expression being seen as femme. I also understand myself to be relatively masculine in just my energy and the way that I am in my presentation. Although I'm happy to acknowledge that I definitely also have femininity in me as well, right? Like, I'm agender and I feel like I have quite a mix of both, and also at the same time don't really understand what those words mean. I also realized recently I got bullied so much for being a tomboy and being a masculine girl, being a young girl who wasn't girl in the right way. And people always told me how masculine I was and how boyish and how tomboyish I was. That recently I was like wearing a tank top I got from the women's section and some jeans. I don't know why I need to express that I was wearing pants. I was clothed, and I walked past this guy and he said something like, oh, like, what is that you're wearing, kind of thing, because I guess it was like obviously like a more feminine kind of cut tank top. I think what he was doing was trying to attack my masculinity or trying to make me feel insecure in my masculinity. So he asked me, he was like, oh, what's that you're wearing? And I just said to him, oh, my tank top. And I kept walking, and I genuinely didn't realize that he was trying to undermine my sense of masculinity by saying that until a couple of minutes later. I was just so oblivious. And I think partly, probably a small part of it is that not many people have tried to do that to me, right? Tried to like pick apart some fragile masculinity that they think I have, because obviously he had it as well, otherwise why would he have said that? But also, like, I spent so many years of my life being bullied for being masculine. Like, you just cannot make me feel now, you can't emasculate me. Like, it's impossible, because when I wasn't meant to be masculine, people kept telling me how masculine I was. And now they think that I am meant to be masculine and want to be masculine. If they try and attack me and tell me that I'm not, I just like, it does not affect me. I'm like so immune to that. It's like, does not even, to the point where I didn't realize that's what he was even trying to do. I was just like, oh, it's just my top. And I was like, oh, I wonder why he asked that. Like, oh, that's an odd question. Maybe he was going to ask where I got it from. Like, I don't know. Like, yeah, so I guess one of the silver lining or whatever to that is like you cannot emasculate me. It's literally impossible, because I spent so many years of my life being told that I was masculine and that was bad, that now people think that I'm trying to be masculine or wanting to be that. If they try and undermine, like, it does not affect me. And so I guess, no, I don't have any moments of feeling bad about being femme or presenting femme or seeming femme, because that's like part of who I am. I definitely have a feminine side, which I like to think I'm quite in touch with, hopefully. And I'm quite happy to express that. And sometimes I feel really seen when I'm expressing in that way and people see that and acknowledge that. Like when people gave me compliments about my skirt, I really enjoyed that. And the other reason it doesn't bother me is, like I said, I know I'm masculine, right? The world told me for ages that I was, with the implication that that was a bad thing, but they were still acknowledging my masculinity this whole time. And so I've been so acknowledged about my masculinity my whole life that, like, you just can't take that away from me now. You can't phase that out of me, because it was really hammered into me and I got the message. I understood. Yeah, so I hope that makes sense. Yeah, I'm sorry that feels unsettling to you. But also 3 months on T is quite a short amount of time, and I think 2 years is really where you start to kind of settle into how you're going to be perceived and what your body's like. And the final question is, what do you wish you knew 2 years ago that you know now? Nothing major, really. I think I wish I'd given myself permission to, when the nightmares about my facial hair and having a beard started happening, which was, I think, like maybe only 11 months on testosterone. It wasn't that long into it. I think when that started happening, I do wish I'd given myself permission to just go, okay, this is a dysphoria thing that's happening. I can go and book in some laser hair surgery and that's okay. I think I was really scared that I would actually change my mind and grow to like having facial hair, or that it was just a phase. And I had trans men telling me like, oh yeah, I was surprised when that started happening, or I found it a bit startling or whatever. And I'm like, no, like I am deeply upset about this. And it sounds like it's a different experience from you. Also, you started testosterone knowing you were a trans guy, and I started testosterone knowing I'm non-binary. So that was also a different experience. I have started laser hair removal on my chin now, and I'm 2 sessions in and I have a few more to go, and my hair has already started slowed down its growth. It's not growing back nearly as fast. I guess I wish that I'd given myself permission to start earlier and just recognize like, yeah, this is dysphoria, this is what's happening, let's do this. But also at the same time, I do think that like I do rush some things in my life, and then some other things I really think about and take them slowly. I think it's probably good that I have that ability to kind of sit with things for a while and think about them and mull them over. I don't necessarily think that's a bad trait. So yeah, I don't know, maybe there's nothing I wish I'd known 2 years ago that I know now. Yeah, anyway, thanks for all the questions. It's been a super long video, but I hope it's been helpful to someone out there. Thank you for sending in the questions, and have a lovely winter/spring/summer/fall. I don't know where you live. And yeah, thanks everyone. See you around, and like and subscribe if you want to. And thanks so much to my patrons. I know I'm really just sporadic with these videos, but I see you and I recognize that you're still patroning me. So thank you for that. Bye.